Greetings and salutations. I'm Ben, and welcome to the Sunday Night Hang. And if you close your eyes, the Sunday Night Hang podcast, right here live on the YouTube's all part of the Googleverse. Yep. Tonight, I'm hanging with someone who I feel like I've known for years because I've virtually chatted literally for years. I was thinking, Bo, you're like one of the OGs, I think, for this channel. Like, I think as long as I've been making videos, you've been going, yeah, that wasn't bad.
True. Yeah, it's been a while.
We've already got quite the crowd in here already. We've got Polly Walnuts. Awesome seeing Polly on Fruitcake Tony's channel last night. Hit Metalworks, AQ Music, Royal City Records, Terry 3Gs, Joe Hervey 84, Thomas Santiago, Dan of New Jersey, LRM Guitars, Janice Lala, Hit Metalworks, Absolute Mayhem, Ryan Hall, Terry Himes, Zach Thong again, Ferd Murphle, Charles 75N, lurking while cooking. That's fine. Michael Kraus, he says as long as they're pants. Nope, shorts. Sorry. Who else do we have in here? Paul McNary's here. Hope you're feeling better, Paul. Tim Thomas. Martin watching on replay because he has to get up with the kids. Down and Back Cornhole Podcast. Yeah, I know. JP Page 2. Doug Santaniello. Almost got it right that time. Almost. Johnny Love's here. BC Rich 581. Nice. All the cool kids.
There you go.
Yeah. Awesome. Symmetry. I hope did you make it home all right? He and John Duchesne have been hanging out and partying since Friday afternoon, apparently.
Where at?
I think at John's place. I remember before Pete Thorne started, John said he was already 5 beers in. And I was like, doing the math with the time changes, I was like, it's not even noon yet. So that's cool. And happy birthday to John Duchesne. Turned 50 today. I don't think he's happy about turning 50, but I can tell you what, John, you're still a year younger than Pete Thorne.
Well,
just keep that in mind.
Young. This is where it
begins. We're all kids to you, I bet.
Yeah.
But you're young at heart, Bo. My God. We've been hanging, doing the Zoom calls. You're an alumni of Guitar Town Hall, in fact. Because I remember Dave said, hey, we're going to do a roundtable. You know a couple people that haven't really been on? And I'm like, yes. Because we had just done that first Zoom hang together. And it was like you and BC Rich 581. I'm like, these are 2 characters. We should do this.
There you go. Yeah, it was a good show. I liked it. Just before that show, I was hanging with Dave. I mean, we were exchanging all kinds of pics of our guitars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And about a week later, I went on the show. So,
right. Johnny Love says saw the Stones in Liverpool.
He dropped on the show too, if you remember. Same guitar.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Johnny Love says he saw Stones in Liverpool, Anfield Stadium last Thursday. They were fantastic. Just saw your shirt. Thanks. Yeah. Tour 78. What's up, Aaron from Albus Band? Jason Lindholm.
Aaron.
Good to see brother Aaron in the chat. Did you? Oh, no, you wouldn't have got the parts laid down yet. You're taking this week off. This coming Tuesday, Aaron will be laying down the remaining vocal track for his upcoming release. Look forward to hearing that.
Cool.
We already got 39 people watching. Nice. I played to less people at gigs. A lot.
Yep. Yeah. There's some new people in here, I see.
Yeah. It's great to see. Welcome one, welcome all. And if you're new, please subscribe. Always helps out. I just got a report in from Bent Tom. He's thinking he's in the chat, but he's texting me. I'm going to go with that much. So he's
Well,
having a
how's that
good
then?
time. There's Billy Baloney, one of our Zoom regulars as well.
Hey, Billy.
And yes, folks, Bo may have the coolest music area hang workshop because he's got a machine shop and a music space all right there. And that just covers like two of my passions at once. Music and metal fab.
Actually, it's like you see part of it. If I'm looking, you only see half, not even half of it. So it goes off. Well, no, this way. It goes off this way much more. So, and on this side of the wall, and we're in front of me, I got guitars lined up all the way across, and I have stacks. I have 4 stacks on this side and 2 stacks on this side.
Well, you know, stereo.
Yeah. All of that all being used, but they're just here.
Well, yeah. There's Tom in the chat. He knew. I figured as much, buddy. Jazz medication. That's right, Joe. You see a carving back there.
Yeah, that's the 50th anniversary carving.
Nice.
I have 100 XBs are over here.
I love I will say have and had quite the collection of some cool gear because I can't think of how many times over the years, literally, I can just mention anything. It's either I got it or oh yeah, I used to have that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Mostly Gibsons. I was really into carving a lot in the 80s. Mm-hmm. You know, but I have a lot of carving guitars. So first one I got was in 78. Yeah, nice. 78. So I had a passion for them.
Oh, at that time. I get it. I remember looking at those carving catalogs going, "Oh, that stuff, that just looks nice."
Well, that was it. You seen the catalog and you seen all those speakers and the guitars and the cool guys sitting there with the guitars, you know. I mean, it was like, I got to have one of those.
I was like, this is much cooler than the PV catalog.
Yeah. Which
was all solid state and country people and more solid state. It's funny to mention that because Dad found some photos. Unfortunately, not one is clear. Like, not one is perfectly clear. And it was a benefit or a memorial show for a local guy who had gigged for years in Canada and the US. And so they were playing as well as a few others. And it's just like the whole backline is just PV. It's just all PV, except for a couple of Fender amps, but mostly all PV stuff. And I think it was around 1988. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm trying to look because all of a sudden then I see one guy's playing what appears to be a Strat with a telly neck, a humbucker in the neck position. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is 1988. What's that? You know. Well, but of course the picture wasn't clear enough for me to tell.
PVs are good amps. I mean, I got the block, the 5150 block head here. Classic 50s. I got 2 classic 50s here. Oh, that's a beautiful amp, the Classic 50 combo.
Yeah. Yep. I got one.
I really love that. Oh, you got? Yeah, you got one.
Yeah, I got an OG one hiding behind the rack there. Dad had a blonde one, which was in one of the photos. He was playing at the Sterling Theater. And I was like, oh, you had I said, this must have been 86. You had the, or 85 because you had the blonde Classic. And he's like, yeah. Wow, you picked right up on him. I'm like, yeah, because I wish you still had that amp and you had the Vibrolux after that and got rid of that too for $300 in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I have one regret. My very first amp I got, this was like in 73, I think. It was 73. It was an Epiphone Zephyr.
Ooh.
Old Epiphone Zephyr. And that was my first amp I had. It was like a 15 watt. And I gave it away. I gave it away to a student. And I wish I really never done that because it would have been cool to have it now. So,
oh, that's the truth. What's up, Doug Strong, Brian24, Grudge Zeppelin, Randy Crooks. Nice.
People rolling in.
Mm-hmm. 51 people. Nice. Nice crowd. Oh, I was going to mention to you, actually, I should have sent you the link. I was watching a podcast last night, an almost 2-hour interview with Rick Emmett. So good.
Really?
So good. Yeah.
Huh. They usually send me that stuff. I didn't.
I can't remember. I'll grab the link. I know I sent it to Charles Green because I know he's a super big Triumph fan, but I meant to send it to you as well. It was funny. The only thing they didn't talk about was the Metalworks studio, but he had mentioned how he and the other two band members didn't talk for a 20-year period, and then even now it's kind of business and kind of frosty. And I was like, I saw you hanging out at the studio as well as other members of the band the weekend I was there, so it can't be that frosty. And that was a number of years ago even. So, but yeah. I forgot. He actually taught, I believe, jazz guitar at college level.
Yeah, that was 20 years. Either in Toronto that he taught.
Yeah.
I met him a couple times. I mean, I actually brought him here to Milford. God, this was late 90s, I think, when he just first started with all this Rick Emmett stuff. And there was some girl, she was a fan club.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember her name, but she was like the most, she was like flipping out over Rick Emmett. I mean, she was like the most ultimate fan ever. So, but she didn't have enough money to bring him. So I stepped into the picture, and he came, and he was at Milford. What's the name of the place? Baker's. It was called Baker's. That was the name of the place. And it was really neat. It was like something else. So,
Michigan, Janice. Hey, Max.
Oh yes, Milford, Michigan.
Ricky Compton, Electro Omega, Eddie Van Haskell. All kinds of folks rolling in. Brad Guitar Miller, in case I forgot to say your name earlier. Great to see Brad in there. Ricky Compton says, man, we used to live in Neapolitan. Ryan Hall mentions a new PV Renowned with 212 Scorpions installed was his first amp. Nice amp. And Ricky Compton used to pick apples at Irwin Orchards in Milford. Crazy.
That's in Milford? Huh.
Yes, John, it is your birthday and you're still awake. I don't know how many cold snacks in are you now? That's what I'd like to know. And happy 50th, and you're still a year younger than Pete Thorne.
Oh, happy birthday.
He says, or was that Romeo? I don't know. That's
Romeo's on the other side.
Oh, only 7. That's not bad, John. Been taking it easy. Brad says Rick Emmett used to play a small bar in Cleveland to get ready for his tours. I bet. That makes sense. What's up, Jack Collins?
That guy didn't have to get ready. He just knew how to play.
Yeah. No kidding. Ain't that the truth? Such a melodic player.
Yes.
And a nice guy. That's true. That really came across in the interview.
His bandmate, the other guy, I forgot his name too. The one he was teaching. Is it Dave, maybe? That plays with him? He's in band as well.
What's up, Randy Upchurch? Laz? All kinds of folks in here. Hit thumbs up if you haven't already, folks. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We can get into it. I think I told you in the chat yesterday, maybe. I don't know. I told somebody, but based off of life choices. So during RJ's show yesterday morning, I kind of ordered an LPD 55.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I gotta get one too.
Well, I know you were thinking about it, and apparently he's sending me along something else that I can't talk about that may be released at the end of the month that I think you would really dig as well.
Okay, I'm for it.
Hey, Calvin.
So I can buy it. So I bought that. I told you the Strymon Volante. I don't have it yet.
Right.
FedEx. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, but I was supposed to have it Friday, and I have a guitar that's supposed to have been here, and they keep saying it's being delayed. So I don't know what their problem is. But
I've had a package sitting in LA for a week. I think Aaron absconded with it. He broke into the postal area while he was out there for NAMM, and he took it because it's pedals.
Really?
Brad Miller says, I think it's that pedal that I've been asking for. I don't remember which pedal you were asking about. And I can neither confirm or deny. What's up, Boomer? Aaron said fact. Yeah, I knew it. John Shane asks, what's a 55 do? It's similar to the 68, the 74, and the 87, except it's 55, so we're going way back. So I believe it's got to be Fender-based. I figure it's got to be like a tweed Fender. I don't know. But I think I'm curious to do a shootout with it and my signature pedal, which is kind of the same idea. So... Jason Lindholm's getting a Fender Mustang Micro to use as an interface to record ideas. I dig it. John Duchesne loves his Volante. Awesome. I think I'm going to have to get one of those at some point. That's the next year purchase.
Talked me into buying one. Yeah, he's the one that talked me into buying one. That was a few weeks ago.
Paulie loves the Roland JC. Nothing wrong with that. It's like the solid state amp that gets a pass. Like even your hardcore tube guys go, yeah, but a Roland Jazz Chorus. I'm like, yeah, they are pretty good.
They're nice, clean amps.
Yep. That is true. We're not shipping UPS, BC Rich. Ferd Burfel asks, anyone see the Tone Talk with Doug Aldrich this morning? I missed it. I totally forgot that was on.
Yeah, I saw part of it. I had to go out. I had to go outside. It was a very nice day today, so it was like...
it was. That's what I was doing. Hanging out outside, drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, RJ?
We've had a campfire going for like a week already. There, so
I get it. Boner Jams? Ripley?
Oh, RJ.
See here. Billy Baloney says he got the Rhina clone. So far, he's impressed. Joe Hervey asks, what do you guys think about the Vox AC amps? I like them.
They're nice. I got two of them right here. I mean, what's not to like about a Vox AC? You know, I'm not too keen about the ATs that they have. That's more of a solid state, but ACs are nice.
What's up, Scott Brockway? BC Rich is multitasking. He's typing and playing. That's fine. Ripley says, I ordered Catalyst 60 from Musician's Friend. Guitar Center fulfills it and sends me a used amp. I called Musician's Friend. They refunded me $70, and I got a used like new Catalyst for $230. They mailed it in an office chair box. Sure, why not? They're not a bad little amp. I was checking them out a few weeks ago, I think it was. It'd be okay for taking to a jam. It's nice. It's light. You can throw some presets in it. Yeah, it's another one of those. What's up, Mad Raj? Everybody else joining in. 66 folks. No, I won't be playing Lionel Richie like RJ. I know you can't shake that. It was the Aldebarge. I saw that before you even started playing, and I was like, that was the song I was listening to the night before. That's my summer jam. And then RJ was going along and playing along with it. Hope he didn't get too many copyright claims on that, but it was cool. Ripley says, my Black Star died, so Line 6 got my business. Don't care for the katana. Sure.
I got one Black Star.
Oh, RJ says DeBarge completely blocked my replay. I was wondering why it was turned off. Just curious. Had a feeling. Calvin Best says, not sure if I like my Marshall Code 25 or not. In the headphones for just practicing, I don't think I mind it. The revenue sharing, that's usually what happens when I play. If I play Judas Priest, they always nail me for sharing. And then Collective Soul, they like to get me too. So far, the last couple weeks, though, since I've been playing again, I've been playing badly enough that nobody's claimed anything. They're just like, no.
If you miss a couple of notes, they still nail you on this stuff?
It was weird. I remember the last time I did, because it was a couple years ago, was when I did Collective Soul's Shine. I remember I played it really heavy, and the copyright wasn't even from Collective Soul, but was another band that had did a cover of it. And they said, hey, that's our version. And I checked it out. I'm like, damn, they do a heavy version of it. But
that sounds like anybody could say that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you're already doing a cover. Like, what? Huh? Yeah. I didn't understand it. But go ahead. Make that fractions of pennies off me. Go ahead. Hey, Mark. He says, we need to record one of our cornhole matches. Why? Because you win everyone? You just want it out there in the world to show that you're a superior player to me? Yeah, okay. We'll see. We need the wireless mics, too, so then we can commentate as we play, because that's going to be action-packed videos.
We have that, too, the cornholes here, and that with the horseshoes. I have horseshoe pits.
Nice. Yeah, you got a nice little setup there. You're talking about your little hippie commune part-time there. I like it.
Yeah, it's a lifetime of accomplishment, you know. So,
sure.
Lots of acres. You know, I came from Hamtramck, Michigan, so I mean, you know, it's like you could go to the bathroom and have a conversation with your neighbor, you know. So right. I always vowed to I'm going to the country. So,
I get it. I get it. Yep. Mike Capsamalis says Rob Zombie covered some Collective Soul in the 90s, so it should be free access at this point. Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, Ryan, I ordered the 55 and then something else apparently. And then, well, I did pick up a pedal yesterday, which will be featured on tomorrow night's show. A little taste of the 80s, if you will.
Metal worker?
Which I already have the delay. Apparently not on display. It's over there. Yeah. So, you know, as soon as I have one pedal from a company, as soon as I get two, now I've started a collection. So, and these things, they're cheap, and it's based off the Boss HM2, which was kind of cool. And so, yeah, it's been fun to kind of play around with. Rock Tech BC Rich, which kind of looks like an Arian, but apparently they made these until 2004 by looking it up. So that's my settings for now. What's up, T. Ricky?
You already played it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It almost does the chainsaw thing. Almost. So I'll have to play a bit of, I guess, metal tomorrow night as a result. So fine.
Well, there you go.
Or we'll play some Motley Crue just for BC Rich. I believe he requested Shout at the Devil, which I've been working on badly. In a different key, I think. I'm not sure. Hello, Scro. Any more DOD? Not yet. Not yet. I just stumbled in that one. It was Customer Appreciation Day over at what over there. As I nod and nobody knows. Long McQuaid, that's it. And he said, yeah, make an offer on any used or demo stuff. I said, well, of course, because you don't negotiate your new prices. And he said, how do you know that? And I said, well, why do you think I never buy anything new here? I could, iRock. I could use the Kramer tomorrow night, especially if I start tuning it an hour before the show. Then we'll get her all set up and ready to go. But he said, and then so I said, well, you had that Rock Tech pedal sitting in the case for at least 6 months. He says, all right, we'll make an offer. And then I started talking to some other guy. One guy, shout out Jason Hamilton, the owner of Lambert Drive Studios. He was in there, and another guy. And we're shooting the breeze just like you would at a NAMM show, talking shop. And all of a sudden, buddy whispers over my ear, and he tells me, and he was basically 40% off the asking price. I went, yeah, ring it up. I can do a 40% discount. Scott Brockway says, I buy expensive amps and cheap pedals. Sure. I'll get anything.
I need a pedal for a good amp.
Exactly. It's like a crappy guitar can sound good through a good amp, but a good guitar won't necessarily sound good through a crappy amp. I'm cost effective, Ryan Hall, from years of being a DIY musician, playing for part of the door with other bands. You learn to be cost effective. Just a polite way of saying I'm cheap. What's up, Gino? Ripley says, I think I own 4 pedals, MXR Equalizer, MXR Chorus, Ibanez CP10, and a Joyo Ultimate Drive. Instead of expensive pedals, I buy amps and guitars. That's fine. That little Joyo Ultimate Drive's a nice little pedal. You have a DOD EQ, Michael Krause?
But they're hard to find?
Well, sometimes. It's one of those pedal. I don't know. It's weird with DOD. You got 5 people out there, and half of them are asking $50 for it, and the other half are asking $200. And you're like, oh, it's weird that way. Billy Baloney says I can make a good guitar and a good amp sound crappy. Nice. Exactly, Terry. I like the way my Amazon Basics pedals sound through my Dirty Shirley. RJ says I'm a cheap bastard these days. The only gear I've bought in the last year is some new guitar picks. I get it. Gino Ames has an entire DOD pedal board. That's nice. I want to get the tuner from Rock Tech because I'm pretty sure it's called Ain't That a Pitch? Or What a Pitch? Something like that. There's a play on words, and I went, that's a tuner I like. Gretch Zeppelin asks, has anyone tried the Joyo Mini Wah? I have not. I barely use the Wah that I have. I should maybe incorporate that into the new board. But would I use a Wah? I never use a Wah. So, nah.
It's been a while for me, too.
Yeah. I think I've used my Wah 3 or 4 times. I think it's over there. Yeah, it is. 3 or 4 times since I modded it. And it's better than it was, but I keep meaning to take it over to Richie's place. So, because he's the Wah guy. I want him to play it and see what he thinks. Since it's got the LPD mod, which I don't know what it is. He says, here, just solder this in there. I'm like, okay. So I did.
Oh.
John Duchesne is asking for, he says, talk us through your killer looking amps, please.
Killer looking amps. That, okay, I don't know. Top one there, that's a Friedman JJ Cantrell 20 watt. It's a great amp. I love it. I love the way it sounds. Both clean and it's distorted in its breakup. The only part I don't like, it doesn't have a standby. I don't like that it doesn't have a standby on it.
Right. Yeah, same here.
But great amp. Love it. Second one is a Black Star. That's a Stage 100 MK2. So that's a nice amp as well. She has both like the American distortion and the British sound. So it has the trem on it that you could distinguish between both sides.
Okay.
So it makes it very distinct when you use it. But she's a killer.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the way she sounds. Next one, that's Carvin MTS 3200. This is the 50th anniversary edition. Again, she's a beast. You know, it's like another Marshall. You know, you crank her, I mean, you know, you're in heaven. Then the bottom one, I don't know if you can see that one. That one, that's a Fender. God, I forgot the name of it. Fender, it's a combo. It's got the DSP controls on it. I forgot the name.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the name, guys. It's got the new, it's like the Digitech. If anybody remembers the Digitech 2101 Artist.
Okay.
It has the same controls as that. As long as the one that's next to it is a Johnson Millennium, it also has the same controls. She's another beast that I had. I picked up, I think that was in the 90s. So I love her. She has a lot of balls.
What's up, Unbelievable?
My main amp that I use is the Marshall here, the TS or JCM 2000 TSL 100. So she has an attenuator in her, so I actually put her down to 10 watts.
Okay.
And she sounds great. And I run everything through. I have a Helix here, line 6 Helix, which the Helix has 4 FX things out. So
okay.
that all runs through, and I have all the Synergy modules down here.
Okay.
So I'm able to plug all that in through this amp, along with the JCM 900. So I'm able to switch back and forth of all these amps, you know, when I need to. So it took a long time to figure it all out, but there was a lot of programming I had to do on that Helix to do it. So
I bet.
And that's all the amps here. Here I have a Boss GT1000, then a whole bunch of pedals over here. Friedman. There's a Strymon here. Timeline. Of course, I have all of LPD pedals down here.
Well, yeah.
I got the 87 and the nice Drive A. The 109 is here. I got all the Rev pedals.
Nice.
Here. That's about as much as I have. If I keep going on over there, I have a classic PV Classic 50s here, and then I have AC Vox AC 15s on that side.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a wall of bass amps. They're all bass amps from Carvin. So, and then all
BC Rich just got the vapors.
Well, most
I
of
bet
them
he did.
all the Carvin 1000, the 1000 series. So it's a nice amp. I like it, anyways. I mean, I'm not a big bass player, but I have it here. So then it keeps going. And of course, I mean, I got a whole line of stacks here that all Marshall. Everything's Marshall and Carvin, the XB100s. So the Super Lead 100 I bought 74, I think, or 75. I don't remember the year, but they're modded with the master volume on it.
Oh, nice.
So beautiful amp, both of them. In those days, I bought everything in twos all the time.
Well, I get it. Because a lot of times you needed a backup.
Or it was always on stage. I used one. The other one was just for looks. You know.
Okay.
Well, none of them ever blew up on me, but that's what that was all about.
John DeShane is loving the stuff. Tone approval there.
Well, you know, I've been collecting this stuff since 72 or 73. So, you know.
The man is young at heart, folks. Like, I was like, wow, because you would say something like that. I was like, wow, you bought that, and I was one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so some of these, you know, Gibsons that I have here. I mean, I bought like for $500 in those days.
Sure. But I was right at the tail end of that. I remember when I first started playing, you could buy used Norland era Les Pauls for $500 Canadian still.
Yeah, they were customs. They were custom. I mean, I got customs here. I mean, and they're beautiful guitars. But it was, you know, $500 was a lot of money back then.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing as like today for $3 or $4 grand. You know.
Yep.
So. Bunch of Fenders.
Doug Strong's like, casually, that wall's just where I keep my Marshall stacks. No big deal.
Well, I haven't moved them for a long time, so like.
Scott Brackway asked, "Do you have a JCM 800 in the collection?"
No, I got 900s though. I never had an 800. I asked for one when I was buying it, and they sent me. They said try these, and I said okay, and I loved it, and I never went to the 800. So
sure.
There was a music store in Flint, Michigan. I don't remember the name. They were just sending me stuff all the time. That and the other place, Motor City Guitar.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows that place.
I know of the place. That's Dave Friedman's friend.
Yeah, Dave Friedman.
I can't remember his name, but I remember Dave talking about him.
Yep. So
John's like, ouch, 900. 900s are love them or hate them. Some people love them, some people hate them. Like my buddy Steve, he swears by his. He loves his.
I love mine.
Yeah.
I think I only changed the tubes like once.
Hey, Ron Padgett. Scott Brockway bought a pedal from Motor City Guitars. Nice.
Oh, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Unbelievable misses his carven head. I get it.
Which one? This one?
He says he misses his, but it blue tubes all the time. Well, it sounds like he needed to be biased.
Really?
I'm thinking.
Something must have been wrong. Never happened to me yet. I cranked the shit.
Yeah. Ripley says Marshall SLX is a great amp or a fine amp. Yep. It's all. It's just.
You know which
we all have these hands that we got to put through an amplifier. It's like I remember going up to our friend Scott's studio for rehearsals for some gigs, and he's got permanently set up. He had a drum kit, and on the right side of the drum kit was a full stack, I think 1972 plexi head and matching cabs. And then on the other side was a 61 Bassman powering two more Marshall cabs of about the same vintage. And I was like, yay, I finally get to plug into a plexi. And I was like, holy crap, I sound terrible. And I was grabbing different. I'm like, it's got to be the guitar. It's got to be the pickups. Grab a different guitar. I'm like, God damn, no, I cannot get a tone out of this. I plug into a JCM 800. Oh, I'm at home. That I could dial in my tone. This is weird.
Well, the
There's Marshall for everybody.
plexis have a nice warm sound to it, and they saturate very nicely.
I had shrill.
Especially
I had shrill. Yeah, that was my problem. Richie sounded great through it. I plugged into the basement and I sounded fine though. So, well, okay.
Well, the only Marshall I never liked was those MGs, the MG ones.
Any of the MGs.
It sounded like mud. No.
Yeah, I was never a fan of the MGs. But I get it. That was their affordable line. What's up, Basement Guitar Superstar? Plexis are unforgiving. That's true. Especially with me. Billy Baloney says, how bad do all those tools in the shop rattle when you crank up a 100-watt head?
Well, it's so loud in here during the day. You know, it's like I have to crank, actually, because the machines are too loud. So that's normally what I do. I mean, I run those are CNCs back there. So I program them, start them up. So depending on how long the lengths are, whoever's having a stream here, I would sit down here and have a chat with somebody while the parts are being made. So
right.
It was kind of cool. That's why I have all this stuff here, because I could play at the same time and work.
Sure.
So
works for me. I get it. I love it. I'm gonna have to move an amp out to the garage for the summer anyways, just to have one out there. Because I'm sitting outside, play a few tunes.
A different sound. It's open for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like when I was talking with a buddy yesterday there, and he's like, so what do you play? He goes, you've gone digital, right? I was like, no. Because, he asked first, what's your digital setup? I'm like, I don't know. I got an interface I plugged in once. I don't know. Like, he says, you're not one of those guys that still plays tube, are you? I said, yeah, that's what I do. How? It's too loud. I said, no, it isn't. Show up with a 40-watt tube amp, you're fine. And I said, you set at 2.5 for indoor gigs, 3.5 for outdoor gigs. That's the way it worked.
Yep.
But it was always one higher outside because of, like, say, that just that openness. It's just like, where's the sound go? Everywhere.
Well, you have to crank, when you're outside, because I used to, have a lot of gigs. We were in not bars, but barns.
Yep.
And we had did our own shows. I mean, we set up our own stuff. And it was large barns, so I mean, you really had to crank in order for the people to hear you. So. Yep,
that's true.
And plus, to be loud enough to go over the drums and everybody else. So.
Yep. I remember we played a bar once. They actually asked, "Could you turn up the drums?" Not really. What's up, Patrick? Tony S. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I can ask him to hit harder, but that's just going to piss me off on stage every time he hits a cymbal. Remember asking a few times, drummers, "You ever do those cymbal grabs?" Yeah. Can you do them more? Ripley has a lead 12/30 from the 80s. Lots of albums recorded with them. That's true. Hey, Christy. Clive? I will say, I see a few people slagging the solid state Marshall stuff. That MOSFET 100, I like them. The 80s MOSFET 100. I had one. It was actually the guy that originally, or he owned it before Richie did, that I was talking to yesterday, because I picked up for Richie, he owned it, and then I got it from him, and then traded it back to him.
What was it? You said MOSFET, you said?
Yeah.
Is that those skinny ones like that?
Yeah, it was
thin one?
3/4 size.
Yeah, I had one of those. I blew it up like the first gig, man. I mean, I cranked it, and it just started smoking on me. I mean, like.
Yeah, I remember using it when I lived at the old house for a few live streams, because I could disconnect the speaker in the B52, and I would just up into the Marshall head, and it's a Celestian in there, and it just worked great. And I remember it was Tone King tuned in when it. He's like, "What's that tone?" I'm like, "Solid State." He's like, "I dig it." I'm like, "All right, seal of approval," because you own all the Marshalls, TK. So
yeah, he's one guy that has a lot of stuff that I.
But again, collecting for years and years and years, right?
Sure. But he's younger than me.
That's true. Actually, I think he might even be younger than me.
I don't know.
Barely. We were right about the same age, as I recall. Let's see here.
You know, the Marshall Code 100 here. That's on this side. I used it once. It's kind of cool, though. I mean, it's like the digital stuff, you know?
Tom's like, "Where's the plexi?" Off camera.
They're up there on top of the stacks.
As they should be. What's up, Adam D?
It's a 73, I believe, the both of them are.
Yeah, Tom, you got a nice plexi as well. So, actually, I can't remember if Tom has the full stack in purple or whatever color that was, or half. I think it was a full stack in purple, like a 72.
Marshall? Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
I could be wrong. Off Nam. Sure, Tom can comment on that. Joe Hervey says, "Do a wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry rig." Good. Unbelievable says, "I need a plexi in my life." Yeah, you do, buddy.
Well, they're out there.
What's up? My knees hurt. He says he's taken many lessons and still sucks. I get it. I took lessons for about a year, and after that year, I asked the instructor, I said, "Should I sign up again for this fall?" He says, "Nah, just join a band." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "For what you want to do." He says, "Do you have any desire to sight read?" "No. I just want to play rock and roll." He goes, "Just join a band, figure it out." Okay. And he was right. And still to this day, it's like, yeah, I'll just watch your left hand while we run through the song once, and then I'm good.
My dad made me go to take classical guitar, and I'm glad that he made me do it. So
I did take that in high school, although the first year classical guitar they called it classical guitar, but one, you didn't have to have a classical. You could have just an acoustic, which I did. And then the final exam for the first year was the intro to Stairway to Heaven. You know, because we need another generation of players learning the intro to Stairway to Heaven to play badly in music stores. And then the second year was actually classical, and it dwindled from 33 students to 3 the next year, which was great because then the teacher just doubled up the class to beginner and advanced. He come in, we took class in his office. He just come in, yeah, just work on this piece of music, and then he'd leave and go teach, and we were just on our own, so it was like a free period. So we just jam, 3 of us. What the hell?
Ours was more like I went to Wayne State University. This was a whole classical program.
Okay.
It was there, and this guy, I mean, he was like a hippie. I mean, he had the long braided hair with a poncho. He wore sandals, you know, and he was good, you know. And my class was like, I think 8 of us. Yeah, I don't remember how many, but once we got good enough, he started parading us around the town, you know, the little bars and a lot of VFW halls we used to go to, and have us sit there and play on the chairs, and that was kind of neat.
Nice. I remember we were part of the music concert night for the high school, but since there was only 3 of us playing classical guitar, they realized nobody beyond the 3rd row was going to hear us. So I said, "Why don't we mic the guitars?" And the music instructor's like, "No, you guys will hit the mics with your hands and stuff." And I got into a yelling match with him backstage, which apparently the whole auditorium could hear me screaming, "You're fucked in the head. We're not new at this." Like, and sure enough, the next year, all the guitars were mic'd. Shocker. But we had, because there was only 3 of us, we brought in, I think we picked out like 3 or 4 of the hottest players in school, which none of which took the class because they were already good players. And they all filled in. Like, they learned the parts at home just on their own and just agreed to fill in with us just to help fill out the sound. I was like, well, that's nice. Thanks. We appreciate it. And I knew, music teacher was just trying to introduce us. I'm like, I know all these guys. Like, we hang out together on weekends. I know these guys.
Were you playing a nylon string or?
Yeah, it was nylon string.
Well, mine were Yamahas. I don't remember what models they were.
Mine was a Fender. They happened to be a second-hand Fender classical at Ardens for $100, and I went, score.
Yeah. Got them from Fiddler's Music on Mack Avenue in Detroit. It's like a 3-story music store. So it was really cool.
Nice.
I don't think they still exist now.
Clive was asking how my dad's doing. Doing well. He's going to be on next week's show for the Father's Day special, confirmed today. We'll probably only go for about an hour next week because he doesn't quite have the stamina to do like a 2-hour show, but he wants to do it. Tell some stories. What's up, Bozique? So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Mm-hmm. I remember that music teacher always hated me because I had better gear than him. Like, he said, I showed up with a Fender acoustic the first year, and he was playing his Suzuki classical. I remember it was a Suzuki. I was like, I've heard of Yamaha guitars. I knew Suzuki made guitars too, but apparently they did. And he pulled me aside, and he's like, "Why are you taking this class?" Because like the first week was tuning your guitar. And he knew that I'd already been playing a couple of years. And I just looked at it and I said, because this will be the easiest credit I ever have in high school. And so, and I'd help teach alongside him a bit, but then just oil and water personalities. In the second year, we did not get along. Like, part of the course was we had to play and sing, I think, 3 songs. And I was calling bullshit because I took a classical guitar course, not a vocal course. Because I didn't want to sing. I did not like my voice at the time or anything. And we got into an argument about that, and he agreed I could just speak the words. And then he gave me a bad grade. And I said, okay, fuck you. And then I showed up for the next year, and I didn't have a classical yet. He was giving me a hassle. And I showed up with Dad's Martin D28 for class.
Oh.
That's not a proper guitar. I said, yeah, but it's worth about the same as your car. So shut up. Well, there was an electronic Suzuki guitar as well, Ripley, but this was a Suzuki classical. Yeah. What's up, Ian? Jeff K.
My was like a hippie. He was a hippie.
Yeah, mine wasn't. He was a bit of a Poindexter. It was funny, though. The teachers, I remember in high school, they had a classic rock cover band, and they would play, school assemblies and stuff. And it was a couple years later, maybe 4 or 5 years, we were out of high school. And ironically, one of the guitar players that sat in with us that night at the concert, we became really good friends, and he got into stock car racing as well as me. And so we would go to this one bar in town after the races to have a drink. And sure enough, the teacher band is playing in the bar. And it was hilarious because we walk in and that guy just took one look and he's like, "Oh, God, you guys are here." It's like, "Yep." And we sat right down front. I was like, "Go ahead, entertain us. Go ahead." And so, and he was the keyboard player in the band, I remember. And the guitar player we got along with, he was an English teacher. And he's like, "Guys, you want to get up and play one?" So we're like, I looked at Rob and I was, "Want to?" He's like, "Yeah, why not?" And we played a song. And I made a point of saying, I didn't learn anything from this guy. I learned this from playing in bands. And he was just fuming. Didn't care. It's like, nope, don't care. I don't like you. You don't like me. It's obvious. So. Patrick, I'd rather play the Martin too. So then, I went out and bought because he gave me the hassle. I think it was literally, I went to Ardens after school that day and picked up the Fender Classical that they just happened to get in on trade. I was going to buy a Hondo Classical because they were a Hondo dealer, because I was like, I'll just buy something cheap. It only has to last the semester. Which, again, the teacher didn't like. What, you're going to buy a guitar just for the course? I was like, yeah, and then I'll flip it. What's the big deal? That's what you do. You like that heavy metal music.
Actually, I never really wanted to buy the cheap stuff all the time.
Yeah. Well, I figured that way, if someone stole it at school or it got damaged, you're out $100, you know?
Yeah.
I do not still have that guitar. I wish I sold that Fender Classical to a friend's younger sister who was getting it. She was a hippie. She wanted a classical guitar to play on under trees or something. I was like, there you go. Take it.
See, that's
I think I sold it for the $100 I paid for it.
I gave them away, really. So.
Yeah, it has slight damage to it. Bozic says, wasn't $100 like $1,000 back then? It was. I think it might have been about a week or two's worth of paychecks working part time as a busboy. So. That's okay. I worked my ass off in high school at the family restaurant. So by the 12th grade, I was the guy who owned a Strat and a Les Paul. And drove a Camaro.
I had Marshalls too.
Yeah, exactly. And then I hear, oh, that's because your dad plays. You got nice gear. So, well, he found me a deal on my first bass, but beyond that, I found everything myself. Well, no, he did find my Strat because he was hanging out at the music store when it was put out on the rack, and he called me. So I guess he found it. I would have seen it the next time I was in there anyways. Hey, Caleb. Patrick says, I have a Sears and Roebuck Classical my dad paid $79 for in 1975. I still have it, and it actually plays quite nice and sounds decent for $80 in the mid-70s. Nice.
Sears and Roebuck. You know, I don't know where it's at. It's a Heath kit. I built it. This was in the 70s. It's a Heath kit. Nice. Guitar amplifier.
I remember hearing about those from my dad.
Yeah. It was like a thing back then, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I bought one. I don't remember how much it was, but I don't even know. I got it somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but the Sears and Roebuck reminded me of that.
I have with that one, what's that, of Brentwood back there, that came out of, they were sold through Woolworths stores. I sourced it out. They were sold in Canadian, or I don't know if just Canadian, but at least Canadian Woolworth stores in the early 70s. Sears did sell silver tones. Yep. John has a Marlin. Look out. I don't think I ever played a Marlin with action less than half an inch on it.
My Epiphone was like that. I had an Epiphone 335 in 74, I think, or 73. It's like off the neck like that. Man. Too hard to play.
Ripley says, I had a buddy built one of their TVs, a Heath kit color TV. Nice.
Yeah, those Heath kits were kind of cool back then. It was a whole kit. You bought it. It had instructions. Yeah. Sat there for a month putting it together, you know.
I get it. That sounds like, high school electronics class, building an AM radio.
Well, back then, I mean, Radio Shack was cool, you know.
It was great. I remember saying, especially, electronics class, I got to go to Radio Shack. Why? Because it was a build your own project, and my teacher had a binder of schematics, and you could choose any schematic to build. And I'm flipping through, and I found one for guitar pedals. And I'm like, holy crap on a cracker, that's what I'm doing. I'm building some pedals. And unfortunately, I could not source all the parts to build the pedal, but he still gave me a pass for valiant effort because he's like, yeah, good luck. I think it was a chorus and a flanger pedal in one from some schematic. And I'm thinking, all right, these schematics have got to be 10 years old. So it's probably some 70s vintage circuit. And I just thought, that's going to sound awesome. But I couldn't get all the parts. But it was handy. Yeah, you go buy components and anything.
Yeah, but they weren't the only company that had it. I mean, there were a lot of stores like that around here. All the Radio Shack.
Christy says, didn't Radio Shack sell guitars and musical equipment at one point? You know what? I seem to remember little realistic amplifiers. Which were probably just Gorilla amps rebranded or something. Now you got to wait days to get a capacitor or a resistor. Exactly. Lafayette sold electronics, Dan, New Jersey said.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I bought my last turntable at Radio Shack, I remember. Because I bought a component stereo system in 1992. And I couldn't get a turntable with it, but I wanted a turntable. So I went to Radio Shack because I knew they sold turntables. And they had just gotten rid of their turntables. And they had the one left, the floor model, that was still sitting in the back waiting to go back to the warehouse. And I was able to buy it. So I had a turntable at least. Yes, the realistic PA amps. I remember they were like the little Shure PA amps. I remember those. And mixers, almost like DJ equipment before DJ equipment. Real tape. Yep. We're getting nostalgic here, folks.
What, tape systems? You know, I got 4 ADATs too.
Wow.
Well, they're not here, but like I got them. It's a whole system I bought in the 90s. It's a whole Mackie system. It's 32 channel, 8 bus board with a whole Mackie automation patch system with the software that came with it. Of course, I went into the ADATs, and that was a hell of a system. It was, I don't know if you guys remember those floppy disks for the computers.
Oh, yeah.
5 1/4 inch. I mean, I had a whole stack of them. I had to sit there and load everything. And it took like forever to load everything into the computer, you know. But it was kind of cool.
I remember them getting a new keyboard in the music room in high school, and it took a 3.5 inch disc to save presets on or something. I couldn't remember what. I was like, what? Thing's got a disk drive? This is weird. Musical instruments should not contain disk drives. It's very weird.
Yeah.
That's right, Joe. Next, we'll talk about Blockbuster. They did not sell musical gear.
No.
However, Best Buy does. Just to throw it out there. I might still own a realistic microphone, come to think of it.
I got them. A few of them. They're in a box here somewhere.
Yeah. Remember, they always had the cables like automatically attached to them?
Yep, exactly. They were cheap, though. I mean,
they were. Like their batteries. They were cheap and they worked.
Yeah.
How well? You get what you pay for. I think it'd be a kick to show up at a gig nowadays with a realistic PA system, though. That would just... Somebody would laugh their ass off. Somebody else would just groan. And then the rest would be like, I have no idea what this stuff is.
Well, their PA systems used to be like for churches, I guess. You know, maybe for halls, for schools and stuff.
Patrick had a realistic EQ in his Chevette. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yep. Mark Taff says he still has his old Trainer mixer. Nice, powered mixer. Yeah, you got that off Richie, I think. Little 4-channel Trainer. Stevie G still has his TIAC 4-channel, reel-to-reel. Nice. I gotta get my dad's reel-to-reel back from his buddy. He's got an old Sony 2-channel reel-to-reel.
Yeah, I would get that back. That's analog, Ben.
Oh, I know. I used to record on it.
Yeah, you can get sounds off of that you won't be able to.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if you can still buy the tape. Can you still buy tape for it?
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Might have gone full circle, yeah, where you are able to get tape again. I'm not sure. And I bet you the current tapes, one, they're all full, or two, they're going to be so brittle at this point. Calvin says, if you saw Realistics in a band, you knew it was polkas and waltzes coming up. Yeah.
Funny he says that. That's what I did too in '72. I played the accordion for what's the guy's name? Ted Sikowski and his Polish orchestra. I was his accordion player.
Nice.
I was like 10. I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Then I begged my dad for a guitar.
I still have a few metal reels. Stevie G. Found them out in the garage. Don't know where they came from. Boomer says, rubber drive stretched in his unit, took it to Lon McQuaid for over a year, and they pretended to fix it. Yep, that sounds about right. Ripley says those realistic amps pull about 350 now. They're made by Univox. Yeah, that makes sense.
So people still buy them?
Yeah. It's finding certain parts, right? Unless someone decides to get into remanufacturing that stuff. I remember I was having a hard time finding reel-to-reel tape even back in the 90s. So I'd pick stuff up at, like, you'd see it at flea markets. A guy'd have a box with half a dozen reels in it. I was like, done. I think it was a 1/4-inch tape they used, I think. What else we got going on here, folks? Some cool conversation. I'm digging it. Janice used a reel-to-reel. Nice. My sister and I still joke about Saturday nights sneaking downstairs to grab a drink when you're supposed to be in bed, and my dad sitting there with a microphone held up to the TV with his reel-to-reel ready to go while watching Austin City Limits, because it was one of those, you learn the song, it comes out, you learn it, and you're playing it in the bars a couple weeks later. So, you creak on a stair, he's like, shh, we're like, we get it, we understand, Which I'd like to find some of those tapes. There's probably some good performances.
That might be an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
Find that stuff.
Yeah. I think all the tapes and everything are sitting up at one of my dad's best friend's places. He lent it to him years ago because he was one of those. He got all those, because most of reel-to-reels are the two of them in like 1971, high as fuck, playing acoustic and recording themselves. So he's like, you still got those tapes? And Dad's like, yeah, sure, here, take them. Huh. And he never got them back. So got to get them back. Maybe we could digitize the tracks and I can upload it.
Well, I'm sure you can.
We shall see. Assuming the tapes are still good. BC Rich says, what do you say there? I'm guessing there's still some solid gear out there under a host of house brand audio names. Yes. And there's still a ton of gear out there. Like, people are still pulling vintage guitars out from under beds and closets and stuff. It's crazy. Enjoy playing, Janice. Wow, Dana of New Jersey had an Ampeg reel-to-reel. Pretty nice in the early 70s. I bet. I remember that Sony reel-to-reel that Dad picked up. That was a high-end piece at that time. It was like 71, 72. He picked it up, and I forget what it cost, but that thing, he valued that thing as much as his guitar or his amp. Like that thing, it was a nice piece of kit and very high fidelity sounding, very warm, I remember. Noisy a bit. It's got fan motors running and this and that. I just remember I loved it because it had the needles.
It picked
None
up
of
the
this digital stuff.
Picked up the fan stuff when it recorded?
Not really, because it had these tiny little mics and they were pretty condenser-like. What's up, Eric? I just remember I just went to Radio Shack, got some reducers, and I just plugged a Shure mic into it because it had the 1/8" inputs for the stock mics that came with it. I was like, yeah, we'll just plug a Shure in. That's how I recorded. Hey, good to see you, Eric. That's going to be my mission this week. I'm going to reach out to my Uncle Don, as I call him, my godfather, in fact. Which actually, I think he had some gear he wanted. I know he needed some work done on a guitar. And because being Dad's age, like none of his kids play or are interested in any of that stuff. So I think he wanted to move a bass along to me or something like that. Like an old Japanese bass, maybe. I don't know, it's old and Japanese. And as far as they're concerned, that generation, it's all garbage anyway. So I'm like, I don't know, it could be like a Tokai or something. I don't know what you got there, bud. So
I'd check it out.
I figured I'd pack up my tools, head up, set up his gear. I think he's got an old Les Paul Jr. Then he needs a setup done on it, which will take, 10 minutes because it's a Les Paul Jr.
Right. What year?
That's the question. I don't know. I've never even seen it. I don't know if it's a reissue or what the deal is.
Oh.
But I don't think he's really playing as much now, too, because every time I post on Facebook about getting a pedal or something, he comments every time, you should be playing acoustic. You should be playing acoustic. Still got that, Martin? You should be playing acoustic. It's like, I do that as well. Don't worry. He really hates it when I tell him I got an acoustic pedal to make the electric sound like an acoustic. It's just wrong.
Well, I think that's kind of cool having acoustic pedals.
I thought it was cool, especially if you're gigging and you want it, you got an acoustic intro or
exactly.
what have you.
I used to, one time, this was early 80s when we had a gig, the drummer didn't show up, the show had to go on. So I used an acoustic pedal and everything mostly was everything acoustic at that time, and it turned out to be good, So me and the bass player just went to town and we did our thing.
Sure.
Well, glad I learned all that classical stuff, It was like that movie Crossroads, that kid that was playing in front of Steve Vai, he did all that shit, so it came in handy.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Actually, we're joking about that. What was it about? My sister was talking with this local band. She loves it because they don't mind when people get up and sing along with the band and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, from the gigging's point, I'm like, God, I hated that because, they were never sober, at least in my experience. And, and I said, yeah, I did that once. And it was the wife of the man who hired us asked if his wife could come up and sing a song. And I thought, well, he signed the paycheck and they were all bikers. So I'm like, sure, come on up.
Bikers are good audiences.
But they were. It was awesome because I remember I remember showing up and I'm doing one of these and the guy's like, what's the matter? I'm like, for the first time in my life at a gig, I forgot my weed. He goes, I'll be right back. And he showed up with a cereal bowl full. He says, is that enough? If not, I can get you more. And I went, that'll do the band for a week. We're good. So put the plate down next to the mixer board or the bowl next to the mixer board. We're good to go. And sure enough, his wife comes up and she looks at us and she's like, "Do you know Mustang Sally?" I'm like, "Of course I'm playing Mustang Sally," for some person that randomly gets on stage. And nobody really knew it. The bass player knew it. And I was like, "All right, yeah, we'll get into it. You know what? Yeah, just follow me." And it's the one and only time I played Mustang Sally live.
Cool.
What we got going on here in the chat? Calvin picked up one of the mid-2000 Fender Acoustic Sonics. I don't mind it, but are they any good? It does a thing. It does a thing. I'm not a fan myself.
I'm still waiting for my Taylor.
I just remember going into Ardens and their owner going, "Come on, you got to shoot a video on the Acoustic Sonic." I'm like, "No, I slagged that pretty good in my NAMM video, so I'm good." So, "Oh, they're selling like hotcakes." I said, "That doesn't mean anything." I'm like, "No, I'm good." But then again, I don't know, how different are they than one of those Godans that's an acoustic electric thing, right? Hybrid.
Yeah, I think those are kind of neat. You know?
Yeah.
Larry Mitchell's using those things, and
they sound great. And they've been like the industry standard for that type of thing since, I don't know, the 80s, even 90s for sure. Yeah. Like, I think he was Chet Atkins using one of those right at the end of his life. I think he may have even used a Godin right at the end.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. He did. You know who I thought was always good was Glenn Campbell.
Oh, what a player!
That's true. I mean, he had some riffs in there, man, that were just cool. You know?
Yep. It's weird because people think of him as just like a singer more than anything else, and I don't know. Is he like one of the few times in life similar experience? I'm sure like an attractive woman has, where they just see the looks and they're like, yeah, they play, but like because Glenn was pushed out there that way, promoted as the singer that everyone loved. And I was like, yeah, but he's a hell of a player. Jesus.
Oh yeah, I mean when he went to do his solos, man, I mean it blew me away sometimes. So
yes, Ripley, the Session Pro by Godin. That's one I was trying to think. Yeah, I got to see Roy Clark. That was amazing.
Did you?
Yeah, and I remember too, he was playing at one point in the set, he played an electric 12-string from Russia. And we're all like, "Oh, wow." Like, first of all, you've been to Russia, because that was still, I don't know if the Berlin Wall had fallen yet, but it was like right around that time. So, it's still, we're very much from the Cold War era. And I was like, wow, that's a guitar from Russia. That's ugly, but cool. And I remember it had a weird body, almost like some of the Strandbergs with all the parts cut out of them. And it's a very weird shaped guitar, and sounded cool. And then he just starts pecking away like we would on a 6-string, except twice the speed with 12 strings. And I was like, wow, I've never seen Chicken Pick and Done on an electric 12 before. And he did it. Hell of a show. Considering I was pissed off teenager who liked nothing but rock music, but I knew Roy Clark was a picker. And I knew at that time I had started playing. I was like, you need to go to this show. Do not miss out on this.
Right.
I was hanging out with my parents, and we had good seats though. I think because Dad was the president of the Musicians Union still at the time, so we had like 3rd or 4th row seats or something like that. I was like, damn, this is nice. Right down front, center. So yeah.
I seen Alan Holdsworth. This was in the 80s.
Oof, what a player!
In a little bar here in Detroit. Signed my Carvin guitar. So I got a Carvin guitar signed by him. So nice. And it was really cool. Hung out with him backstage. I mean, it was totally amazing. I mean, this guy was down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Really down to earth.
That might be, was it the night I opened for the Killer Dwarves? I remember listening to Jerry, their guitar player's tone, just loving his tone, right? So as soon as the show's over, I make a beeline up. I was that was great because I had met him before the set and stuff, and that was awesome. And then I was like, what's like, how are you getting that tone? He's like, oh, it's nothing. And I look, yeah, Marshall with a Boss SD1 pushing it. Classic. You know, I was like, yeah, that just makes sense. You're an 80s player playing 80s music. Have an 80s setup. You know, Les Paul into that. He had a Kramer as well because he was actually a Kramer in Dorsey. And it was weird because this was only like 5 or 6 years ago, and Kramer had next to no endorsements, let alone Canada. He was like the only guy, and it was they sent him a Beretta, you know, to play, and he would play it 1 or 2 songs and then switch to his Les Paul for the rest of the night, which was hilarious.
You know, it's funny, in the 80s, nobody ever thought that we sound like the 80s. I mean, that was just the sound we had, you know?
Right. Well, it was just the 70s with a bit more gain, right?
That's true, you know? Well, 70s was cool, too. Oh, it's a Music Man that I had, too. It's over here. HD 130. It's a beautiful amp.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I got that one because Eric Clapton started using them in 77 or something like, 77, 78. You know? And it just, great amp. It's got balls, and it sounds just, and it has that Fender sound to it. You know?
Yep. That's true. I think, yeah, I've seen one guy use a Music Man. I did sound for one night, and he had, he was in a band, an alternative band in the 90s, had a couple hits in Canada, and I kind of forgot about the band, and now doing his own thing, obviously, but he had like an all-star lineup of Toronto players. Right. A couple that I had even heard of, and I just showed up with that Music Man amp, and I was like, oh, or 2 of them, sorry, because he played in stereo. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen those in age. He's like, yeah, I don't touch them. I'm like, yeah, no worries, not going to. I'm more interested, anyways, in his flute player. I think, was that in his band or the opening it? The flute player, first of all, they had a flute player in the band. Holy crap. And he played the flute through a pedal board. And I'm just like, what? He goes, oh, yeah. I was like, you got like phasers and flangers and choruses and delays. Like, you're not just adding some dirt to it or anything. He's like, oh, no. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm really into like Pink Floyd. I'm like, I can tell. You're a flute player who uses a pedal board. I love you. And we became instant friends, and we've been friends ever since.
Cool.
Couldn't believe it. It sounded amazing. Yeah, nothing like taking a flute solo and then kicking on a phaser.
Right.
Holy crap. It's weird. It was awesome. Randy Price. Good to see you, my friend. He says, just bought a Friedman JJ Jr. That one, right over Bo's shoulder. Like, what a beast of a little amp, and it sounds so close to the 100-watt tonally. It's insane. I fully agree.
It's got its own sound, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's got its own sound. The BE has a different sound. The JJ has got its own distinct sound to it. You know?
Right. I love Jerry Cantrell's tone. That's like the benchmark tone for me.
You know?
He always had amazing tone. Actually, I think at that time, as that was the beginnings of the alternative scene, I was like, that's the one band that has amazing tone. You know, of the alternative that really stood out. I remember.
Yeah, you're right. That was like the beginning of the 90s.
Yeah. That's what they were joking about in the Rick Emmett interview, because Rick quit Triumph, you know, in '88, and he's like, "Yeah, the whole scene went to shit in a year and a half anyway, so I got out when I did." Not that he could see it happening, but it's like,
yeah, he was asked to play for a lot of bands, Boston, yep. Asia. He was asked by Asia to play there. Europe. Some other band.
Yeah, he was saying like, and right after he quit the band, of course, MCA contacts him, and they're like, "Oh, we want to sign you to a solo deal. We want to sign you to a solo deal." He says, "I want one thing from you." They said, "What?" He said, "My release."
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's him. You know, I mean, he's
Yep.
got just him.
Exactly. And part of that was producers. And so when he saw the writing on the wall, he says all of our biggest hits were coming up on being like 10 years earlier. So
Right.
you're not going to be doing the arenas for much longer type thing.
Actually, I remember him. He played the national anthem here in the Tiger Stadium in Detroit with his son.
Cool.
I don't know what his son had to do with anything. It wasn't his daughter. I don't remember.
And the interesting thing, he was going to be a pro athlete until he hurt his knee playing football in high school.
Yeah.
And then he thought, I better learn this guitar thing. It's like, yeah, it's 17, and then by his mid-20s, he's famous.
That was late 20s anyway.
I forget who he said he was playing with before Triumph. Kind of a Alice Cooper, Bowie, Lou Reed, everybody's in drag type thing. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there was some bands like that.
Yep.
I thought in the beginning Max Webster used to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Kim Mitchell wearing his unitard with a tutu.
Yeah.
That's the Kim Mitchell I like to think of.
Yeah. They opened for Rush many times here anyway.
Sure. It would make sense. Because I would think they would, that would be looped in basically as part of the Canadian tour, dipping across at times.
Yeah. I mean, they came unannounced sometimes. I mean, I seen Rush 76 or I don't know, 76 or 70, one of those years in a roller rink here in Detroit. It was all unannounced. It was like overnight it happened, and then they were there in a roller rink, small roller rink.
I get it.
I seen Pat Benatar in one of those things too.
What's up, Paul? I remember my cousin Doug likes to talk about how Public Enemy played the roller rink in Kitchener in, I think it was 87, 88.
Kitchener, where's that?
It's an hour outside of Toronto.
Toronto?
And they were on the same plane as my other uncle. And so he and his dad were picking up my uncle at the airport. And he's like, I don't know who these guys are. And they're all dressed the same. It was the posse. And my cousin's like, holy crap, that's Public Enemy. And he's pointing at Flavor Flav going, I don't know who this guy is. BC Rich says, first record I ever saw when I was on vacation in Ontario was that Max Webster album cover, and I was like 6. I remember thinking it was all neat. Then they let them all dress up as aliens.
They weren't bad. It was a good thing. They were pretty good.
No, it was great. Yeah, a bunch of songs. A bunch more than I remembered, like that they were doing. It's one of those things you pick up like Max Webster's greatest hits. You're like, holy crap! There's a lot of songs that I remember, especially for Canadian radio play.
Right,
man, a lot.
No, he opened once here. This was in high school. I went to see. I seen like Frank Marino many times here with Humble Pie. They were always together for some reason. Steve Marriott.
Oh,
Humble Pie.
Yeah.
And they had what's the name of the other band? Angel. Have you ever heard of Angel?
That rings a bell.
They're like look like angels on stage. I mean, they look. It was a good band, really. So I remember this was in the 70s, 78, I think. Oh. But Max Webster opened for them all.
Interesting. I would have, Steve Marriott. What a talent.
Oh, I thought he was great. Kid, 17-year-old kid looking at
sure.
band.
And then you have a young Peter Frampton, who's the other guitar player in the band.
Yeah, exactly. And what were they? They were using carbons too.
Wow.
It was kind of cool.
I think it was around that time when, yeah, a lot of bands, they'd fly over from England, buy a back line over here. Makes sense. And half the time, like if they flew into New York, a lot of bands would just take the drive up to Rochester, hit House of Guitars, and just kit, because they had everything, and they would just kit themselves out, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they had a bunch of photos in there the one time I went in there. Oh, okay. Well, it kind of makes sense, you know.
Well, they played in the places like in Windsor too, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of that place neither. It's a gambling place now. Oh, they used to have a lot of bands there all the time.
Paul Leonard Ewing opened for Rush. He watched them standing backstage while his prog rock band Talus, the other Talus, for those who don't know, the Canadian Talus, we'll call it, opened for them. That's very cool.
That's something to remember for sure.
Ed DePriest saw Steve in Humble Pie several times back in the early 70s. Nice. Fred says House of Guitars is great. It is.
Early 70s.
At that time, I remember growing up, his dad said we were doing one road trip, and he's like, we're hitting House of Guitars. I'm like, yes, because you'd see the cool commercials on TV because they had the best commercials. And I remember they always advertised they had 1,000 guitars in stock. I can't wait to see, because I go to music stores with my dad, and they had, they got 20, maybe 30 guitars max. And like 1,000. And you go in, and it'd be like Squires just out of a case, and everything. There's nothing. And they're just leaned 5 deep along the wall, just standing on, leaning against each other. I'm just like, holy crap.
That reminds me of the music store here in Hamtramck that my dad knew. I mean, this was when I was a kid. When I needed guitars, we went to this store, and there was this old man. He was like this short, fudgy old man, and he had everything in this store. It was like stuffed in every little single corner you could imagine. It was up all the way up to the ceiling. He had this like ladder that drove across, And
oh yeah.
Go, oh, what do you want? Oh, I got one of these, and he would go climb up on the ladder and pull this thing out, And he's like had everything, That I needed a guitar, and my dad wanted to buy it for me, and he pulls out this Gibson. Okay, and he puts it down. I'm like in La La Land, looking at it. But he talks my dad out of it. He sells my dad a Crestwood copy of the Gibson. I go, man. It took me like a year to get the first Gibson or the Les Paul. After that,
I get it.
I remember the music store. It was just, he had everything in there. Everything. One man.
Hey, it was funny. Whereas my dad was the opposite. When I told him I wanted to play, first off, he's like, all right. So originally I wanted bass, to play bass. So he literally contacted one of his old bass players from the band. He's like, hey, you plan on gigging anymore? And he's like, no, I'm done, type thing. I got the kids, whatever. Still got your bass under the bed? Yep. Want to sell it? Sure. And he had arranged for him to get the bass in the first place. We were talking about it earlier tonight. And that was an El Degas P-bass knockoff. And I played that. And I wish I still had that. It was a great little bass. And a GBX solid state amp that we got off another retired local guy that dad knew, which was awesome. But then after, 3 months of bass by yourself, I was like, I want to play guitar. And at that point, because that's his wheelhouse, he's like, well, you're not getting any crap. I'm like, okay. Because that way, if you don't like it, which you probably will, you can get your money back out of it. Like, okay. So we'll find you something used secondhand. Okay. You can play my stuff until you find something you like. Okay. So I'm playing a Telecaster through a Vibrolux. No gain. Well, none. The crystally cleanest tone you'll have in the world. I'm like, that sucks. balls. This is terrible. I do not sound like Angus Young. I'm not having a good time. And you couldn't really get pedals around here. Like Ardens had them, but they cost almost as much as they do now. It was ridiculous. So that was out of the question. And going through the local paper, for sale, Les Paul. Okay. So we show up at the guy's house with my dad. It was funny because it's a guitar, amp, and pedals, I think. It was like, whatever. So we were going for the guitar. Dad cleans out the cash register. It's on a Friday night, I remember. We're at the restaurant. We leave early. Dinner rush had just ended. He cleans out the cash register, so we have cash to buy this. I'm like, okay. Odd, but whatever. So I had some money, but it was in the bank, and Dad said, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Okay. Show up at the guy's house. And growing up around my dad, I learned the art of the deal at a very young age. Type thing. Like if I was at a flea market, if I wanted something, I'd have to negotiate it myself, even at age 6 type thing. So here I am, 14 years old. And the guy opens the door. He goes, okay, we got to make this quick because a buddy's picking me up in 15 minutes and we're leaving town. I'm like, well, you've lost all bargaining power. All right. So we check it out. It's a 72 Les Paul Deluxe. I looked, it looked like it had humbuckers. They weren't really humbuckers, but they looked like humbuckers to a 14-year-old. But it was a Les Paul. I'm like, ooh, okay. I like it right away. My dad plays it a bit. He's like, yeah, it plays good. I'm like, sweet. All right. So immediately, Dad looks at it and goes, so what do you want for everything? And so we picked it up, a Hohner amp, solid state 115 keyboard amp that he was playing through, a Boss CE2 pedal, and an MXR distortion with no LED. So it's that old. I don't know if it was an original script, but it had no LED. I remember that. Picked it all up for $750 Canadian, which I'm thinking, that's like a month and a half's pay working part-time, washing dishes, but okay. And Dad immediately flips it. He's like, we can flip the rest of the stuff. I'm like, okay. Still not sure what's happening, but I knew we got a deal because I remember looking at Les Pauls for $500. I'm like, the week before, and I'm thinking, this is a burst. They were all gold tops or blacks, and I didn't want a gold top. I wanted a burst of some kind. This is a burst. I'm getting all the other stuff basically for $250. Snap it up. Cleaned out the bank account to pay off half of it. And the rest, because my parents, working for them, they garnished my wages for the next, I don't know, till it was paid off. Like $10-$20 out of every paycheck until it was paid off.
That's not bad.
But I had a Les Paul.
Yeah.
And then I plugged in that Distortion Plus, realized it sounded like ass, especially through a clean amp. It needs to hit like a Marshall.
Right.
So I immediately took the pedal into school. Hey, this is the same thing Randy Rhoads used, because I read that in a Hit Parader or a Guitar World or something. And I sold the pedal for $60 immediately. So then I was back to clean, but I had a chorus. So then it was, well, you got a chorus, so at least you can do the ballads. And I was on my way until I got a Boss distortion.
The amp up, it didn't break up at all?
No, because it was a solid state keyboard amp with just a master volume. Yeah, I was in the same place with the Vibrolux, which again, just a master volume, no pre-gain.
Well, you could have.
I remember saying that to my dad. I'm like, this doesn't distort. He goes, well, just add some gain to it. I was like, what gain? He's like, there should be a knob. It's called gain. Use it. Okay. Because he hated gain, though. He would always say he liked just a little gain because he liked John Fogerty's tone. Just a little gain. That was his thing. I was like, okay. And then I go into my room, and I got the amp and everything. I'm looking at all the knobs, both channels. I do not see a gain knob. Back out in the living room. There's no gain knob on that amp, Dad. Guess you're playing clean then. Yeah. Missed that amp now, though. Oh, my God. That thing would have taken pedals amazing because it would not break up.
Right. But it was solid state, though, right? So.
Yeah, and I remember he didn't have the foot switch for it, and I wanted to use the vibrato so bad, or tremolo, really. And so I went down to the Fender music store here in Belleville, got a ride, and I was like, yeah, I need a foot switch, so I can get that working. He's like, you don't need to do that. I was like, okay, what do you mean? He's like, are you just going to have it on? Like, do you need to turn it on or off during a song? No. Just stick a wire inside and ground it out to the chassis and it'll turn it on. Really? Yeah. Okay. Tried it. Worked. Because the guy's one of those old time guys. You don't need a pedal. Just do that. Save your money. Buy something else. And he was a friend of my dad's. And until he sold that store, every time I walked in, he'd look at me for like 10 seconds and go, Dave's kid, right? Yes, Wayne. We've known each other. At that point, geez, he only sold the store 10 years ago. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, Dave's kid. Meanwhile, my dad hadn't been in there in 20 years. Guys are all talking tubes in the chat a lot tonight. I get it. I've seen it continue every time I look over, just tubes, 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 tubes.
I like tubes.
Cut to speak with a razor blade. I like that. No, that amp still had the original Jensen's in it. I think it still had Jensen's. Yeah. Which is the only speaker my dad ever liked. Oh, you got to put Jensen's in your Fender amp. I'm like, yeah, for the cleanest tone possible.
Well, they're good speakers, man. I mean,
they are.
Yeah.
And again, as a pedal platform, they knew then what I know now type thing. We had a bunch of cool gear come through that Dad flipped it. Like the 7-string Gretsch.
Gretsch makes a 7-string? I've never seen one.
I think so. I think it was a low B.
Oh.
Yeah. First time I ever played a 7-string. Totally forgot about it until, I don't know, I think it was when I was out in California at NAMM when I played JJ's 7-string. And I was like, this is the first time I'm playing a 7-string ever. He's like, really? And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. My dad owned a 7-string. And I think it was a Gretsch. Could be wrong, though. Looked like a Gretsch.
I don't want a 7-string. I don't know if I would like it or not.
Too wide. It's next too wide for I'm a thumb curler. Not so much to use as a root note, but just to mute the E string when I'm playing in the key of A.
All right. You could just turn your E string down and use it as whatever you want.
Yeah. Or it sits in D half the time anyways for droning.
Right.
Nice. Well, I'm going to pay attention to the chat again, folks. We're getting close to the top of the hour where we shall wrap things up, allow this man, to finish his weekend, let that man up there get back online. So
I'm good. Nobody's bothering me, so unusual.
Yes. Well, and I realize, we've gone almost 2 hours. And I barely asked you anything as far as I know you've sounds like you gigged forever and a day in and around the area.
In the 80s, mostly throughout all my 80s, that whole decade. Well,
yeah.
70s and 80s. I mean, from 76 all the way to the end of the 80s.
Nice.
After that, I got married. See,
hence the phone call to my dad's old bass player. Are you all married up? You're not coming out to play anymore? You want to sell your bass? I get it. It's growing up in that environment. With my dad doing that same thing, and and that's why going through those photos. Dad's like, that guy. He was a character, and because my sister, being 4 years younger, because I'm thinking like Dad quit playing, I think when I was about 12, so she was only 8, so she didn't go to as much of the stuff. I tagged along a little more, and she's like, we went out someplace, and there was like a big outdoor concert, I guess, but it was just like behind a barn. I was like, yeah, I was on Smith play it. Pat out at Bailey's. It was his annual barbecue. She was like, yeah, it was a barbecue or something. And I remember that. I think I was 11. And I've been exposed to the country scene a bit, but by 11, I'm well into reading Circus and Hit Parader religiously. And, when you're reading about Motley Crue and bands like that partying it up, and I'm sitting around in, my Motley Crue t-shirt, age 11, watching all these people play both kinds of music, country and Western.
Right.
The newest stuff was some Waylon and Willie, maybe. A lot of the bands had fiddle players, a lot of steel, which I still love steel guitar. But I'm watching all these guys sit because it's just a barbecue and it's a party. It's just getting liquored up to the point where, the cement pad is one step off the ground and several guys need help getting on stage. And I just remember I was like, God damn, these rock and roll guys have nothing on these country boys. Like, they give her hard.
Yeah.
But then they would get up and play a set that was just great. And that was, I'm like, holy crap. And they're pulling it off, too.
Yeah. Well, I did that a lot. It was a lot of outside stuff. And there were pig roasts and, things like that.
Yeah.
But it was all my friends. I mean, they actually set it all up. And it was amazing that we were able to pull it off even, Sometimes,
sure.
I mean, it was broken up because we played in the middle of Detroit and neighbors complained and the police came, broke everything apart, and we just kept on playing, until someone told me to stop,
Yeah. Until I hear my amp being turned off.
Yeah. Well, there was a police officer standing in front of me.
Yeah.
Time to go, son.
Sounds good. Yeah. Yep. Not a problem. Just going to break down the gear. Have a nice night. Yep. I get it.
That was cool. Well, we played at
Hey,
the bar.
Keith Campbell. So I'm curious, the scene in around that area, was it still where you would get booked for, say, a 3-night or even up to a 5-night at certain places?
Well, yeah, they would call all the time. It's like almost every night. I mean, in Hamtramck, if you stand on any corner, you could see at least 5 bars. Okay. So nice. I played, I knew Lily's. I don't know if maybe anybody in the chat knows, but Lily's bar was like this big punk scene bar, and I knew the owner. It was a lady, an old woman. She was like my mom. We called her Lily. She wore leopard skin clothes and those glasses, and she was pretty cool. And she had 6 kids, So, and most of them were all in the Motor City Mutants, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So I hung out with them a lot, so we played in that bar a lot. Okay. So there was another one called Paychecks in Hamtramck that we played in a lot. Then there was Detroit. I mean, there's Harpo's, and I played the big places as well.
Nice.
So, Ritz.
I know about Harpo's.
Yeah. September's. There was a place called September's that we played at.
Yo, Hippie. Great to see him, my man. Everyone, Hippie's probably going live in about 10 minutes. You shall check out his channel after we're done.
Oh, I always go to his channel when I see.
Yeah. Probably has some cool stuff going on, as usual.
Yeah, he's finding a lot of cool people there,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe I'll get my ass in gear at some point and actually record something so then I can take part.
Well, that's my whole plan too, is to start to record again. It's never no time in the day. I got grandchildren, and all this other stuff. So it's like sometimes time. My big problem is everything I've written has been written without a drummer. So it's like, do I want to get into programming drums to go along with it, or do I try to find a drum loop, backing track, whatever that I could works, or do I just find a drummer to come in and just, here, this is what I'm doing, play along, figure it out. I got 2 sets of drums. They're not set up, but I got 2 sets. Tama and Pearl.
Very nice.
My brother used to play. I don't know why he doesn't play anymore, but now I got him. Big sets too. I mean, because we were into the Rush stuff, so he set everything up just like Neil Peart. I mean, we had even got the sign.
Sure. Got it.
Professor on the drum kit.
Yep. I get it. Well, some things never change in that respect, right? It's always being very DIY to a large extent, and you turning up amps, and you got the banner. Invest in a couple of lights if you can. Ooh, yeah. We got the blues now. That's gonna be great for the slow stuff. Ooh,
blues is cool too. It's a jam with a lot of people around here too. Mitch Ryder.
Nice.
And what's his name?
Legend.
Jim McCarty.
Sure.
And Wally Palmer from the Romantics. And what's his name too? Mike Skills. We used to jam like every Sunday here in Hamtramck, and it's a little tiny bar. So,
okay.
Mitch Ryder wasn't always there. I mean, he'd show up here and there, but he knew Jim McCarty a lot. So I don't know. He invited him a lot, so I learned a lot from him too. Jim McCarty.
I'll definitely look into that metalhead hippie. Stevie G says, "Are there any luthiers in the chat?" I just play one on camera once in a while. I will not claim to be one. What's up? Especially if it's acoustic or electric. I don't mind wrenching on electrics. I don't like wrenching on the acoustics so much.
That's a little hard.
Already inspired Nugent.
Well, they did. McCarty did inspire Nugent. That was back in the 60s. He's almost 80 now. He just played here about a day ago.
Wow. Oh, no worries, Stevie. Okay, you're just asking. Gotcha. No worries. We welcome any and all questions, especially if they're guitar related. It helps. So, reminder, folks, 1 week from tonight, we'll have Dad on for Father's Day. I'll try to think of some topics to throw out to you guys to ask him on next week. Some good topics, probably recently passed away, Ronnie Hawkins. Weird how people he kind of knew back in the day passed away right around, like prior to Father's Day. I remember last year, John Prine passed away, and Dad had a fair amount of interaction with John Prine over the years. Those are always fun stories. Ask him about the time he gigged in the bars that had the chicken wire. Yep.
Well, I never had that.
Yeah. Yep. Hell, he played one place where it was like you played, and it was like off to two rooms, and it was literally the men in one room, the women in the other.
I've never seen that before.
Country bars. I'm just saying, folks. Country bars. Here we go. We'll wrap up with this. How about that? Jeff K asks, Bo, did you ever see MC5, the Stooges, or the original Alice band?
I've seen the Stooges. I never seen MC5. I always wanted to see MC5. I never seen them, but I did see the Stooges a few times. Strange concerts. Trust me. I mean, some of them, the lights went out. Okay. I mean, I could have swore everybody's on acid in those concerts. So, yeah. But Alice, well, was he talking about Alice Cooper or Alice?
I've assumed the original Alice Cooper band.
Well, I've seen Alice Cooper many times, but not in the early bar scenes, though.
How about getting your guitar shot?
What's that?
That would be an odd show. That would be an odd show. Can't say that's ever happened. I've had people try to play my guitars, but that was different. Michael Cross was saying Alice with Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner, who I believe played on the album for the band that Rick Emmett joined and toured with prior to joining Triumph. Those guys played on, they were the session players on this other artist's album.
Nope. Never met him or seen him.
Wish I could remember who the guy was. I don't think I'd heard of him before. Can't remember. All right. Keith asks, name the weirdest thing you've ever seen a guitar built out of.
Weirdest thing? Well, I've seen them built out of pallet material. I've seen the material from pallets. Seen that. You know? I always wanted to buy that. What was it called? Dan Armstrong guitar, the clear.
Oh yeah, the acrylic.
The acrylic one.
Yeah.
I always had my eye on it way back, but I never bought one.
I wanted one of those, and my dad still to this day makes fun of me about it because they all turn to dust in no time. I'm like, if they're still out here now, then they're still out there.
Cool, you know, I mean, to me, it just looked cool. I seen it hanging on the wall there, you know, like. But the weirdest is probably pallet material because it just looked funky, you know. I mean, it was splintery and.
It's the weirdest.
I don't even know who made it.
Weirdest guitar. I'm sure I saw some weird ones at NAMM. I'm sure of it, but.
I see.
Oh yeah, that was one of those hollow ones. It looked like it was filled with liquid. It was really weird, like a lava lamp inside a guitar or something. I don't know. It was weird.
That would be heavy, man.
Yeah, wasn't totally full. I think it was only like half full of blue liquid or something. I don't know.
Huh.
I looked at it. That's just weird. Billy Gibbons has had some weird guitars. Yep. Well, let's see here. Skeleton from Dead Person. Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I guess you probably could make one out of that. But who'd want to play?
That's right, Mark. The only hands that touched my guitars out of venues were yours, mine, or Rich's. And Rich wouldn't play mine very often because mine were usually strung up with nines, and he would break nines so easy. He just wouldn't touch my guitars. But yeah, they were always never near the front of the stage, always at the back by the amps. Cheers, hippie. Have a great show.
Yeah.
Eddie Van Heskel says it was a guitar that dispensed penicillin. That could have been handy in the 80s.
Oh. I don't know if you needed penicillin in the 80s.
70s?
If it dispensed that white stuff, that's it. That would be something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be an expensive guitar.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we're going to wrap things up here, folks. I will be back tomorrow night playing some guitar. That one right there. It's just waiting. Playing those pedals down there, and that one I got to plug back in. Right. 8 p.m. tomorrow. That'll be fun. And then...
You're going to use the new pedals?
Yeah, I figured, at least I can do a swap in a different pedal every week, at the very least. But we will be rocking the Metal Worker for at least a bit until it just annoys, BC Rich to death. What's up to Feel Button? Great to see you, my friend. And Tuesday, Nas Canucks. That'll be fun. Talk to Cousin Doug. He's still pissed I didn't visit him yesterday, but I got busy. Excuse me. Yeah, he got a little tipsy on that one last week.
Yeah.
Well, he decided to do a shot of moonshine to start the show, and then he did another shot during the show.
That's all you need is 2.
Yeah, and he kept talking over me. I'm like, I'm the one that actually watched the races flag to flag. How about you let me talk, and you can offer opinion after that. I'm looking forward to the race, Keith. And then we got Filipino beverage for the tasting this week. I found a Filipino soft drink. I don't know. I'm gonna take a photo of it and tag RJ and ask him what it is. He might know.
Where's that?
Filipino people. So, yeah, it's weird. I think it's called like 4 Seasons, and it says taste all 4 seasons. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. And then, I don't know. We'll see what happens for the Friday video. I usually figure that out around Wednesday or Thursday. Guess it depends on what comes in the mail this week. Could be an unboxing. Yeah. So thanks very much for coming on. We got to do this again, my friend.
No
this
problem.
Has been
I enjoyed it.
Fun. Yeah. And yeah, shooting the shit. I love it.
I hope everybody else enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I think so. We're just gonna pop over here real quick. Yeah, 269 views thus far. That's nice. That's
really
nice. Yeah.
Cool.
That's like a really good show for me. No, I mean gig wise. That's what YouTube was, but gig wise, you play for 200 plus people, even if they're in and out because smokers and bar hoppers. That happens. Yeah, these guys are doing it. Rock on, cool show, great show. Awesome. Oh boy, Doug on Shine. Yep. Doug on Shine's an interesting thing, Terry. I'm just saying. You just don't want to witness it in person all the time.
I'll try. If there's any other ones, I'll try to hook up some of this stuff and show it off a little bit or whatever.
Sure. Well, we'll definitely do it again. If not, got to plan it. We got to do another group hang soon. One of these. You're obviously welcome anytime to join in on one of those. And that's right. Zoom call this week, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a Zoom call at 7 p.m. Eastern this week, folks. That's for patrons and channel members. So if you're not one and you want to join in, there's a join button right down there. Just saying. Or you can become a patron at Patreon. Yep, that's how it works. So once again, he's been Guitarman45. I've been Ben. You've been, Keith's been Keith. Hip's been Hip. Johnny's been Johnny. Stevie's been Stevie. So as always, hold those doors open. Let Doug's wife in ahead of you in traffic because, she's real. Happy tone chasing. Be great to each other. Not just good, but be great to each other. And where's the outro? Wait, Dale Palmer's waiting. He's like, I can't type until you end the show. I know, Dale, at the end. Where's the outro? There's the outro. Like I said, don't litter.